back to Redlining. We're doing a very special episode today, but before we do that, how you going, Richard?
I'm going great.
You're going great.
I'm going great.
You're looking good. You're feeling fine.
I'm always looking good.
You're always looking
feeling
good. Always looking good.
Looking fine. I've got the stubble or the salt and pepper at Grant Marshall. I'm ready to go.
Good. It looks good. Well, today, to prove that we stand up for the little man, we've got the representation of male grooming himself.
Well, I shaved today. You got you see the cuts. Right.
It's Mr. Meek. Welcome back to the show, my friend.
Hey guys, it's good to be back.
Yeah, nice to have you back.
Yeah. Now, just go straight to the point, I think. So you have been having a few struggles recently with one of your venues, the Yachty down in Raglan. But let's go back to the beginning. What's been going on?
Back to the beginning of where?
Well, I think let's establish, so you are the owner of three clubs in Auckland and Raglan.
Yep.
So Ink Bar and Mothership in Auckland, and then the Yacht Club in Raglan.
Yep.
So you're having a few issues with Ink Bar and Yacht Club, but let's talk about how humming the Mothership is at the moment.
I mean, what can I say? Because of the issues in Raglan, I sort of thought, oh man, this ain't going to work out. So a couple of years ago, I saw that Impala, which used to be Code before then for the older ones amongst us, was for sale. I drove up, I had a look, all I wanted to see if I could put the stage in, and floor to ceiling. Figured we could, looked around, like it was good space I didn't know about. On the way home, went to see my mate Pat Hawkins, told him about it, took him down, he liked the idea. 8 weeks later, we opened up the Mothership. Yeah.
And that was 18 months ago? Was it?
July 8th, 2022,
2 years ago.
So we were deep in work mode at this time, 2 years ago.
And what's your 2-year assessment?
It's been incredibly hard over all the places I do, over all, I think all hospo, all music venue based hospo. It's brutal out there.
But with the Mothership, are you happy with how it's turned out?
I couldn't be happier. We I couldn't be happier where we're progressing. It's still tough. It's still really tough. But yeah, even we had a Scarfest on the weekend. 2 stages, outdoor space, a lot of people that hadn't been there before, and we were getting comments from all these old Scar heads that remind of the King's Arms. I mean, if you're doing live gigs, it doesn't get any better than that. It's one of the best things I heard,
If you don't mind me saying, it's a fucking good venue.
I'll fucking let you, and I'll fucking take it.
And we cannot wait to provide some entertainment there.
Yeah, exactly.
So, and what's the status with the Ink Bar? Ink Bar seems to be going okay. I mean, it's a stalwart. It's been a while.
Yeah, Ink, 24 years, 2000.
Yeah.
We had the idea of doing it. Me and the partner at the time opened it up. It's pretty much stayed the same in space and structure, and everything's where it was. And I brought my partner out after 2 years, changed it around a little bit, and it's pretty much gone well ever since. And it's having a good little renaissance at the moment.
Yeah.
I mean, it's never been shit, but it's like I say, it's been tough for everyone recent. But yeah, Ink's.
I think the thing with Ink is it's got such a great reputation, and it is the kind of the go-to for people for kind of underground style electronic music. In Auckland, this is of course.
Yeah.
Now you've been pretty busy on social media recently, haven't you? Talk to us about what's been going on.
Yeah. Wow. Shit. Okay. So it's to do with situation I've been in for a while with my controlling landlord in Raglan, who became my controlling landlord at Ink. It's been pretty tricky. It's been happening for a while, and it's sort of come to a head. But I brought it to a head. I brought it to a head recently. He's a guy called Tony Bruce. He's mostly well known, I guess, apart from trying to fuck people all over the country, for company Raglan Roast, who make cheap coffee, sell it, go into places, undercut people, and sort of go from there. Based in Raglan, but there's maybe 10 or 12 around the country. We're a big roasting place in Hams.
So what's his relationship to the Yachty? Before, how did he start his relationship with the Yachty? What was it?
Yeah, so the Yachty is part of a leasehold land package. There's approximately 30 tenancies which are run by a company called DTR. Tony is 5% of DTR, but he runs the whole thing. Mm-hmm. He's pretty much enabled to do all the shit he does by 50% guy who's a lawyer, John Webb. And the other 6 shareholders, the other 6 directors, 9 shareholders, pretty much let Tony do what he wants, which is a bit of a problem for me because if they wielded a sort of slap every now and then, maybe we wouldn't be in this situation.
So go back to the very beginning then with the yacht club and the issues with Tony. So where does it all start?
Well, it started before I went there. Like a few people said to me that don't trust this guy, don't go anywhere near him. I said, he's my landlord. But I was trying to work out the structure,
Is this, he already had a vested interest in the Yachty before you took it? Well, actually, Yacht stands for You Owe Tony.
Is that generally right?
Yeah.
Is it?
Oh, shit.
Did not know that. Because it originally used to be a private members club. That Tony set up, or as one guy said, the way I'm paying a fee to watch, listen to Tony Bruce talk about Tony Bruce.
Fine.
Yeah.
And so he set up middle of Raglan, was a failure. The 50% guy was going to finish it. Tony almost practically begged Peter Collington, from Anna Collington's dad, Dick Johnson's brother-in-law, to take over. Cod's are a well-known musical family down there. Pete and Ollie, his son, took it, ran it for, I think, 4 or 5 years. And then they wanted to move on to other things, and they hoped to get someone to come in and sort of grow it where they hoped, and that was me.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
So how long have you owned it?
I bought it December 2013.
Okay. So where did the problems start happening? When did they start happening, and what were they?
Well, at the start there was a bit of bad cop, worse cop with Tony and his mate. Trying to put the new boy in his place, I guess. And then October 2013, I had been told that things really winter was not that flash and rags, and that things started to come right for Labour weekend, and the Sunday session Labour weekend was where it really kicked off, and that was correct. Like Sunday sessions have consistently been my busiest day of the year. Mm-hmm. First one kicked off. There was a space outside where the boundary was, but there was just an agreement we could use more. After that first one, there was allegedly vomit and mess everywhere. Tony and his offsider ripped me a new one, dobbed me into licensing about it, which was pretty rank considering it's on private space.
What did they have to go to them with? What was their complaint? That you weren't cleaning up properly, or
complaints of vomit and mess outside, but that was about it. By the time I turned up to have a look, there was nothing.
Have they never been to a club or a bar before?
Yeah.
Well, it's common space, so we have it at night till 1, and then at 7 in the morning it's clear.
Right.
Yep.
But this was just an allegation. There was my cleaners didn't see it. But
right.
Being the new boy in town, I sort of wore it. Tried to do better. Made sure I did for a couple of years.
Yeah.
It wasn't much do better. I mean, we always tried to leave it clean, but I try to do things well. I'd get up at 6 or 7 in the morning to do a final check, go down before the coffee shop opened. And then I sort of realised the extent that Tony would lie and try and create a false scenario, and that's one of the things he mentioned in the stuff story.
Right. So, what's his agenda?
What's his agenda? His agenda, I think, originally was to use to get the yacht club back for himself.
Right.
So he sort of he tried to. I guess really become super good friends with the guy that moved to town that was into the music and Me and him were pretty good mates. Offered this guy a house to live and befriended him, and so I came in that way. And then Richard said to him, "Well, what is the story with you and Andy?" And he said, "Well, Cods." He just basically said, "I expected the Yacht Club back, but Cods wanted too much money." So I think his agenda was to get the Yacht Club back by any means he could, and when he couldn't, that's when he decided to not honour my right of renewal and set up a competing venue on the boundary. So originally take it back when he realised he couldn't just take it back to undermine and compete with me.
Right. So the first complaint was about like vomit and not being cleared up out. So how has it progressed from that point?
Yeah, so I guess that's the stuff story that you're referring to. I got interviewed down at Ink. I posted up a story about the you're going around circles here, was they? So Tony bought the Ink building in 2019.
Yep.
2020. 2020. 2020. So he bought the Ink building. That had been a sort of, there'd been a few things that had happened before then, since 2016 that had just sort of, it's 2015, they just kicked things along a bit. Like he'd tried to, as I said before, he'd gone to licensing, made my life hard. Yep. He'd tried to oppose a variation on lease, which gave me the space outside that I talked about before.
Yeah,
that was the agreement. So I could see shit happening. So I got that as a variation. So he had to sign that off, and the lawyer sort of made him sign it off. But by then I'd already had the lawyer tell me that Tony and his offsider wanted to throw me out, but that lawyer at that stage was on my side. And I'm thinking, what the fuck, these guys just think they can throw you out, What the fuck's with that,
So just to clarify, we're talking about Ink Bar now.
No, still the Yachty.
Still the Yachty,
yeah. It doesn't come in until later on. So,
cool.
So they had the variation, and then I had him removed as landlord spokesman for colluding with the then licensing officer of the council against me, threatened to punch my head and a few other things. Yeah. And then it sort of stayed like that till 2018 with another guy, being the rep, another offsider. 2018, I was then told that that instead of unanimous with 7 shareholders, one being 50%, that now majority, it was now unanimous. So every shareholder had to agree with stuff with me. So it put my affairs back in Tony's hands.
Oh, right. Okay.
Yeah. So then shit. I suppose then the next thing that happened was something that was a little bit outside the bars. I sort of fell in love with a property. I fell in love with a property out at the bay. It was Raglan's only 5-star hotel, four rooms, staff, ACOM, about 12 acres. Just mind blowing. Wife liked it too, which is always handy. And it was about the only year that Ink had made enough money that the books looked good that I could do something like this. So everyone looked at this, it blew their minds. So I went for it. It was 2.65 mil. I wanted to head off the opposition, so I went unconditional. Fucking idiot. Right. But there were instantly problems with future building site I was showing, and I could have pulled out, but I didn't. I kept on going through it. And then as I went through it, we needed extensions. The woman was a bit reluctant, and by then Tony had found out what was happening and was trying to drive a wedge between the extensions and the vendor and myself.
So what is Tony's involvement with this other property that you're trying to buy? Why did he feel that he get involved?
He just heard that I was buying it. He had a property out there that there were 2 boundary points that were the same peg.
Yeah.
That was it. So not even a neighbour, but in the neighbourhood. It seems to have only been prompted by the fact that I was getting it. Because it had been sold for like 3 or 4 months beforehand, and it was only when I found out about it that.
Wow,
that happened,
so this guy's got a real.
Yeah. So I had to get 2 or 3 extensions to try and work my way through these problems. I got those. Tony would be laying the heat on the vendors, saying, well, I'll give you the money now, but it'll be 50k less, but otherwise it falls through with Andy, that'll be 200k, that type of thing.
Yeah.
Right up to the last extension. The last extension came through. I got the news I needed. Took my wife into it, but unfortunately this was like a 3 or 4 month period. By then, lending conditions had changed. I couldn't. Lending conditions had changed. I was told that it was like a perfect storm. That hospo money was, not that flash anymore. That spec tourism wasn't looked at that well. I had the first trading BNZ planners, the risky trading bank, turned me down.
Yeah.
And then I was looking back, I was essentially fucked.
So how much did you lose?
Shit. $265,000.
Now, let me just see if I can make this clear. If he hadn't have stuck his nose in, would you have lost that money?
Well, some bottom feeder was going to, I'd put myself in that situation. I had 100k, I borrowed 165 at 19% of the ended up. Fuck. Yep. And I made so many mistakes. But Tony was the bottom feeder that came in. I would be away, trying to get valuation of another property up. And in that time, I don't actually know what happened. The vendor went cold. Her friend, I was getting close, but probably wasn't going to happen. And then her friend rang me one day and went, property's gone. The vendor had to make her lawyer trustee to make it feel.
So what year was that? When did that happen with that property?
That was the end of 2019.
2019.
Yeah. And so, what do you say? a bit of a fuck up.
Yeah. So do you just out of curiosity, do you think if you hadn't have got involved, you would have bought that property?
Pardon me?
If he hadn't have got involved, would you own that property now?
I don't think there's anyone else that was chasing it as vigorously as he was. That putting the heat on. Right. Some bottom feeder, I'm the one that created the situation by leaving the deposit in the game and not being able to get the money.
But if somebody's come in deliberately to try and stop you from getting somewhere, that's, well, to put it mildly, bang out of order, isn't it? Well, that wasn't the end of it. Like, I hadn't even told my wife, Wednesday night, Thursday night, Friday, I'm like, fucking hell, when are you gonna do this? And Saturday, I'm like, and then I got up Saturday, look at my emails, and the lawyer involved in my landlord firm, his law firm, landlord entity, his law firm had put a equivalent of breach of lease notice on me. Pretty hard to document. I'd had a few little threats before, but nothing like this. And it was to restrict my outside space, restrict my trading hours, create a breach of lease, which landlords, these guys put you on a week to week and they use that to throw you out. So this was 2 days after it was obvious I'd lost everything.
What was the breach of lease based on?
It was based on an illegal, the space I talked about before about that being illegally taken.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it was based on, I think it was on hours and mess and shit like this. There was two main ones here. So it was restricting what I could operate on. That extra space I got meant that on the 5 nights a year when you really cream it, you can put so many people in there. So it would have taken away that.
Yeah.
And the other one was just on hours basically. So it was a double pronged thing, and it would have had the effect of me breaching lease and being thrown out, or going broke and having to walk. It was that precarious at the time.
So just to go back over it, so Tony, the coffee godfather of Raglan, is trying to run you out of the yachty.
Yep.
He then gets involved with your land purchase, fucks you over there.
Yep.
And then he becomes a part owner or a leaseholder of the Ink Bar property. Is that right?
So all that happened, or the pointy end of that last story happened in late October 2019. I was really lucky that a partner in a Queen Street law firm, Pauline Davies, who lived in Raglan, heard about this, met up with me, saw all this stuff, you know what I mean, and pushed back really hard. I mean, the landlord tried to as well, but she just pushed back on all the breach of lease stuff, and eventually they folded. If it hadn't been for her, I would have lost everything. Yeah.
Well, it seems to be a remarkable coincidence, doesn't it?
Yeah.
I mean,
remarkable coincidence.
Yeah.
It was brutal, you know. And then that was just before COVID. And then COVID, March 2020. So things get a little bit shit anyway. And then June 2020 is when my bouncer in Rags told me that Tony had told him he had just bought the ink building, and I had 5 years, which.
So you didn't even hear it from him?
Well,
hear it from a member of your staff?
We'd stopped talking about him.
Okay. But even by correspondence, right? Like email or something?
He told me like that. He made sure Bevan told me, So at the time, I went straight up to Auckland to see my landlord.
Yep.
Yeah.
Because I had a first right of purchase.
Yep.
But my landlord then wanted like 3.1 mil.
Oh, wow.
It's a shitty old building.
Yeah.
There's no way I was going to do it. And then, so what I heard was Tony picked it up. Well, I know he picked it up for 1.93. It was valued at 2.85. It had been off the market for ages. He chased it and bottom ended my 80-year-old landlord, who was showing signs of dementia by that stage.
Shit. So, okay, this is going to sound stupid, but like, his only reason for going out and buying Ink Bar is to piss you off. Is that correct?
I mean, there's other buildings in Auckland, you know.
Does he have any other property on K Road at least?
I don't think he has any other property in Auckland. Full stop. Yeah.
What a coincidence! What are the odds, Tony?
350,000 to 1.
He's probably thinking, do you know what K Road needs? It needs a Raglan roast. I've got just the building.
I was looking over.
Do you know what Ink Bar's there? Is it?
No, you don't say.
Imagine the little chubby you got there.
Okay, so he's taken over. So he's taken over.
You're really fucking Andy now.
So he's taken over Ink in some way or another. He's threatened you with 5 years. Where's that? Is that still happening?
Well, this is all in COVID, so I ended up paying full rent for both properties all through COVID.
Oh,
so hear all the story about Webby.
And he didn't give you a rent decrease? What are the odds, Tony? Yeah.
So obviously you also had building issues, right? So the Ink Bar building issues.
Yeah. So that was like 9. So paid rent. You know, COVID came right. Still kept on paying rent, trying to get things right. And then, July or August of 2021, major leaks in one of the bathrooms, you know. So I take my builder up. We get there, we find it's even more of a major. Do the job. I have about 6 or 7 grand to do that part of the job, you know.
Yeah.
And after a bit of toing and froing, that invoice got paid. So the next stage, which was still out in the bathroom, because the bathrooms were an add-on to the original building, I think, the women's bathroom. Next stage is looking pretty shit. So I do the same thing. They tell me that they have an alternative, which is basically sweeping the roof and painting on a bit of waterproofing, which builders said would, last about a year. The conversation over that got more and more animated. In the end, I just got ignored. I ended up doing $27,000 worth of work. So
you're doing this out of your own pocket?
Well, I took a lot of rent, but I had to do it myself because there was no contact with them. Just no response, and this was quite critical stuff that Ink wouldn't have been open otherwise. It was
so you need to do it.
Toilets and entrances had to be done. Otherwise I was fucked. And so that was 4 months. So that was when we were doing the Mothership too, which is more of a drain. And then after that, so all this critical shit had been done that we could stay open without the ceilings falling in on you. And then there was still a major, well, we call it the waterfall, leak coming down outside. Yeah. And I just said to Tony outside, fuck this, you're not getting more rent until this is sorted. And I never heard anything more from him again.
So you stopped paying rent until it was all fixed? Yeah. Is it fixed now? It must be fixed now.
Yeah. So I mean, the only reason it got fixed, there was no notification back.
Yeah.
And the only reason the only reason it got fixed was because I fixed it. Yeah. So what happened was my staff, Ink staff, got hold of builder looked at the leak, and he just thought it was coming from the vacant tenancy upstairs. He tried everything else. He got hold of Tony. Tony came up. He gave builder arseholes about the state of the work, because outside it was just a wet building. I mean, how do you seal a wet building? Yeah. They went inside. The builder hadn't seen it. They go to the back of the vacant tenancy. There's a whole, about 2 or 3 square meters up above with. It had come down. It had we worked out that the insulation above a kitchen to tenancy upstairs had all got waterlogged from a massive leak. All the joists were water damaged, like 30 to 50%, and you could actually see the guy's shower tray. So the first.
There's no one living here at this stage. Is there?
Someone upstairs.
Someone's in there, living there.
Yeah. Right. Hell yeah. So Travis reckoned that Tony went from giving him shit to how the fuck do we fix this?
Yeah.
So Travis, the builder gave him a decent, 82K and another 70 for a roof. But he never contacted me. He never contacted the tenant, because we tried to contact the tenant and he didn't want anything to do with it.
Oh, right.
And in the end, I asked the builder what happened, went up to Auckland, had a look. I had the same holy fuck as everyone did that saw it, including the structural engineer who I commissioned.
Yeah.
So there's still nothing from Tony. So I ended up getting an asbestos report and a structural engineer's report. I acted on the structural engineer's report. I went over and above to protect my tenancy by putting beams below the joists.
Yeah.
And just to protect my tenancy. Yeah. That was what I got told to do.
Yeah.
And then just sort of went from there. So it was in a state of limbo. And then I got told that I was still not paying rent. No, that's not all doom and gloom. But and then the builder and him had made a deal that the builder was going to, because this happened because no one will work for Tony. He's known as a prick, he won't pay or he'll fuck you over. He's known like this, all his life basically. So I couldn't get him to work. Did a deal with the builder, which sort of sidelined me, but you get over it. And as the builder said, he finished work March the 13th. But as the builder said, that if I hadn't started the work and if I'd been prepared to leave it as it was, I'd still not be paying rent. So, he was put in that situation because no one would work for him.
Yeah.
And the only person that would be that original stage where absolute D grade repair.
Yeah. So what's the deal now with Ink Bar? So you're obviously it's open and it's you can run your business, but what about as far as keeping the lease? So how long have you got leased to now?
Okay. So my original landlord, he informed me in 2019 that if he died, I'd be fucked. Well, yeah. Yeah. And then I found out who his son was, and I agrees I would be fucked. So I got another 6-year extension from 2025.
Yeah.
So I've got that. At the time, I didn't show Tony, but I showed him about 6 months later at a situation where I could do,
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's still concrete? That's still concrete? That's
yeah. It's a it doesn't matter if it's a previous landlord.
Yeah.
So that's that. But despite all the bullshit from Tony through the Stuff magazine about setting up, Raglan roaster or whatever, it's been vacant for 2 years upstairs.
Yeah.
I saw some old email or something a while back where he was. Now someone reminded me about the podcast when he was saying it was soon going to be K Road's first 24-hour coffee bar. Then that was like 2 or 3 years ago.
Right.
I got pointed that out. So, he was full of it, but it's been vacant for 2 years. It's going to be another bar. It's been offered around for sale again. So it was offered to the family bar guy.
Oh yeah.
For a little bit more. Family bar guy, even though he's next door. Look, you can just look outside. You can see the damage, the water damage.
Yeah.
Turned it down. So I know it's sort of. It could be on the market, so if anyone's out there wants to be a member of Ink.
Yeah.
Well, it just so happens. Redlining and neon looks good.
You can change the bar name. Formerly known as Ink.
So that building is, you're at the bottom, and then there's a vacant spot just above you?
Yeah, which is being turned into another bar,
Right, and there's something else above
that. And there's still the tenancy.
And then there's a tenancy above that, right. Just picturing it in my head. Yep, cool.
Yeah.
So this bloke's getting involved with everything that you're involved with, except pretty much, marrying you. Although he's
probably... my wife says, just bend over them, fuck you, and get it over and done with.
Just take it.
I'm not paying.
So going back, so going back to Yachty, back to the yacht. Where is that at the moment, and what's the next step?
Yeah. Okay. So it went from the finding out about ink. So the next thing that happened back then was he was telling people that he was outside telling local cop. So 2 people rang me like straight away afterwards, going, "He's going to bankrupt me and take my house." So these are the two things. Yeah, you see your eyebrows. So these are. When I'm painting the house.
Who does that?
These are the two things that really freak people. Oh, the whole doesn't. At the time, these are the things. Like this is the type of sort of bullshit that happens. I paint my house in Kobe and go, Tony wants the house black.
Fuck hell.
Yeah. So then it came up to October 2020 when I should have had my right of renewal renewed.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. My landlords refused to do it. The lawyers, the 50% lawyer landlord, they just use their law firm to scare you and intimidate you.
Right.
So they refused to acknowledge the right of renewal because of the variation that had been signed over to me in 2015. Because by then, at the same time as the right of renewal, which was when they had accepted they couldn't throw me out, they set up this competing thing, the yard on my boundary, and it was the same month. That got incorporated November with Tony's 25% owner, director, and I still haven't had my right of renewal formalised. I've been through a process where they've had to recognise my variation. I mean, I got the variation legally in 2015, but I've had to fight at several stages to show it.
Yeah.
And since then, there's been no. I mean, operating without a right of renewal, which is mine, not signed off. But now, as I'm going to sign it off because they've set up a competing venue on my boundary.
How have you noticed any impact from the competing venue?
Oh yeah. It's. I mean, there's 4,000 people that live in Raglan. The competing venue, it's run by people who I used to. Who I used to really look after at the Yachty, like their band would play. I'd give them all the big dates. I had the kids' 21st, which was a riotous affairs. We had been close, and even when I first heard that they'd been offered it, I thought that they must have been bullshitted that I didn't have a right of renewal, and I'm a bit gullible or something. But I was a bit shocked when it turned out to be they knew.
Yeah, that's shocking. So where are you now with the Yacht Club?
Okay, so So during all this time, and in the period when I was last with you guys, I lost my liquor license for a second time. I lost it the first time back in 2017 for 6 months, but you can stay open on appeal.
Yeah.
I had the how liquor licenses work is every 3 years. Every 1 year to start with, and every 3 years you have to renew. The police come in and oppose, or just let you get by. Police came in and opposed me on 13 things, which means it's going to a hearing. My normally one or two things means a hearing. My licensing officer said that she was influenced. So it means that when you go to a hearing, it's in front of the licensing agency, which is 3 people. There's like 70 of these through New Zealand, so they're regional things.
So when you say she was influenced,
well, that's what she said. There was so much stuff that her report reflected some of the police opposition.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's not correct, or it's not correct.
If every one of these,
or exaggerated, shall we say?
Every one of these 13 things that, and you don't get to, like negotiate beforehand. Every one of these 13 things we had to prove wasn't true.
Right. Okay.
So if you put a test of, I mean, this is for everyone, but I can't imagine I can't imagine anyone else being gone like I was. So there were 13 different points. They were either, okay, the first one is that intoxicated people are allowed to remain on premise. Well, they're allowed to remain on premise if you find them a safe place. The next point was people at risk of harm by allowing these intoxicated people on premise. Well, you're allowed them on, so there's 2 points gone,
Yeah.
So there's the vague and unsubstantiated like that, and then there's the actually exaggerated and wrong. And there was one that it was an incident where a few kids hadn't want to go after a night outside. They were standing around outside. I got told that this was happening, that they were telling the local cop and their officer that they weren't going. I went outside. I saw half of them had been in the bar, roughly half of them been outside. I saw they weren't drinking any of my booze, which is a big thing.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I just told them all to fuck off or they'd be banned, and they fucked off. And the cop thanked me then, and she thanked me again the next day.
Yeah.
That specific incident was used in police opposition.
Yeah.
But the cop added were violent and disorderly in town thereafter, and this happened several other times. So by throwing these extra things in, it's like, they've created a major situation from just a little bit of something that happens in a little community,
Yeah.
And there was another one which I'm into it with the cops, and I can't even mention it apart from as we are now, the details. But this one, my cop friends, when you tell them, they go, "We can't do that." I went, well, I did, and they said, "No, we can't do that. That's such a breach of your."
Yeah.
And so and if these 13 things that we have to prove aren't true anyway, if which is what happened.
Yeah.
If they aren't there at the start, then I don't have a fucking hearing.
Yeah.
I don't have the 25 months from the opposition or the 80K on lawyer for a 3-day hearing and all the appeals. And then none of that happens if these cops just don't go crazy at the start.
So let's be clear, this is setting you back 80 grand, these hearings.
Yeah, I still owe my lawyer money from 2 years ago. I mean, fuck, it's been crazy, and this is coming up in a month's time. It's the roll around from that 3 years, and the cops will go me again, and it'll be another fucking the same process. And I'm not doing that, so that's why I've made it clear that the yachty, if it has to carry on, it carries on without me.
So that's a given. It's you're going to move away from the yachty no matter what.
Yeah.
Because to me, it certainly makes sense. It just sounds like the money that you've thrown into it. Yeah. It sounds like the area Raglan itself, through no fault of your own, has other influences who are affecting, your business, your financial earnings, and all that. Yeah. You're better off just sticking with what's winning, which currently is Ink and certainly the Mothership, and just building those two things.
The Mothership's my future, and if I, it's been tough, but if I hadn't done it 2 years ago, I'd be in this situation and have nothing.
Yep. So, obviously, all 3 venues are very popular, and have an extensive fan base and have a lot of people who've had very, very fond memories from going to each of these venues. And you've been getting a lot of support on social media from your reports and everything. Yeah. And people are reaching out and wanting to know what they can do. So what can they do?
It's, I like, people, hopefully that they're reading and taking it on board, like one person can come out and buy the Yacht Club. Or two. I'll just educate or support any hospital, support any music venues. Everyone's doing it tough. If the call does go out for a proper organised boycott of Raglan roast, because this it's pretty out there what this guy's done. All I've done is get a business and grow it incredibly. There's only 4,000 of us live in Raglan, but a lot of people, if they come for a weekend, the Yachty will be part of it, or they'll come for gigs. And it's a one out of the box. We managed to have one of the wildest techno scenes in New Zealand, but all the punk rock bands love playing there more than anywhere else as well. And I had Rhombus on Saturday. Rhombus end up playing like 40 minutes over and playing every song they fucking know because of the vibe and the vibe normally is just out the gate because people there's an intensity between the crowd and the bands that or the DJs that really works. It's a privilege to be a part of it.
So if you're trying to sell the Yacht Club, is it a given that your landlord is going to make it easy for you to sell it? I mean, is it going to be an easy sell?
Well, I'm not sure. I'm a little bit freaked by it. As I've said, the lawyer landlord, and his main business property developer. He's Waikato's or Hamilton's biggest property developer, courtesy of a farmer's old man left the family on the edge of Hamilton in the 70s. So they just take liberties. So the status I'm in now, I need two things. So I need a application for a liquor license next week with the deadline coming up. So they have to approve the use of the building. And the other thing is the assignment of lease. So if I'm going to sell a business, then I need the lease assigned, which is what I did from the CODs back then. So I wasn't. I put the question to the intermediary guy the other day. He come back saying that Webb, the lawyer, was talking to the other shareholders, which is actually huge because normally it's just him or Tony, him and Tony doing it, So obviously the Stuff article, leading on a Saturday with stuff for 3.4 million monthly readers, seeing your mate on the cover, which will scar Tony for the rest of his life. Bummer. It's created maybe a different way of them, unless they're bullshitting me, maybe these people that weren't involved as directors are getting involved. So I came back last week, nothing had been done 4 or 5 days, so I just thought, this is getting crucial here. So I said to the intermediary guy, look, man, I'll escalate things. The hint being that, maybe some of the shit that's happened, if it was shown again, or if it was elaborated on, then the same thing might happen. And within 5 minutes, I got the text that I'd been waiting 5 days for, from the lawyer guy. So I hit him about the assignment of lease, and he goes, "We'll consider assigning the lease." I mean, for fuck's sake, this is a given right of mine to try and sell my business, and it's we'll consider doing it with the use of the building. So I put that to him. He said, "Yeah, if you pay what you owe, which is a bit of rent, which is no problem, but we'll consider assigning that. That's if I find the buyer, then these guys are still just if they try that, then." I can't sell the business. These guys have wiped out the Yacht Club. I'm not going past that date. Yeah. I can probably go them for what I paid for the business, but it doesn't matter. This is the contempt or the not give a shit about an iconic iconic, amazing thing for Raglan, and people live there, people that visit. I've had so many parents come in bringing their 16, 17-year-old kids recent with parental guidance are allowed to come in because they're all freaked out that they'll never get to experience the Yacht Club.
Really?
Yeah. So, and it's kids else keep an eye on them, but these kids have been looking forward to it for ages, and then they're thinking it might not be open. And what do you do? So it's like it's pretty funny, but it's sad, and it's getting a bit sadder too. So I sign my lease and someone buy it. But yeah, it's serious. How do you call it? Like, abuses of power. Yeah, abuses of power. That's what it is,
So we encourage everyone to basically share your story, talk about what's going on. And I think the other thing is that shouldn't be overlooked is how important the Yacht Club as a venue is to not just the electronic music scene, but the overall music and hospitality scene in New Zealand. Yeah. It's hosted some of the best bands, some of the best international acts that come over. Yeah. Everyone knows it, Yeah.
I mean, as well as the techno and the punk, which go off, and the other ones, our Sunday sessions. I mean, I've been proud of a lot of things I've done in my music, in my venue career, but maybe nothing as incredible as the Sunday sessions. It's the longest running one in the country. The artists we get are out the gate, and the vibe is like nothing. So, we really have a village, which is 4,000 people, and people that come through that manage to support such incredibly and support it so passionately.
So it's basically a case of we really can't afford to lose a venue like this. So
especially in a small town. I mean, Auckland's always going to have a vibe of some sort, but these smaller places like Raglan and other places around the country, a place like the Yachty is, it's an institution.
And the other thing is the competing venue, because it's a cafe in the daytime. That's 11 o'clock. So Yachty goes. It's 11 o'clock closing.
Oh, really? Yeah,
right.
Yeah, and it's like you guys said. It's a massive part of Raglan life, but it's also a staple of New Zealand music, and once these things go, they don't come back. So
I think you've nailed it there, and you're so right. That once it's gone, it's gone.
Yeah, and because of one obsessive fucking guy who's enabled by his partners to go at me so ridiculously and aggressively. And I mean, anyone who's seen the interview on Stuff, it's just out the gate shit. And I counter it all. It's just so out the gate, personal and misinformed and just rubbish, but this happens with these guys. The same things happen to tenants. This all kicked off from my neighbour getting thrown out or leaving, but on the back of a proposed 60% rent increase, and other tenants getting screwed as well, and no one would talk about it because they're all too scared. But I don't mind, because everyone knows I've been into it for ages, and it's kicked off a storm, we're all getting fucked, and it's not nice. And it's really heating up now, because I think that people in Raglan realise that we're serious. Just a night or two ago when we had Paige Julia on the Sunday, I run this on the Saturday, fucking Paige on the Sunday. I mean, this is artists that are normally too big for these type of places. They like going there because they know that vibe is just there, some of the they're not happy. They're not happy, and now I think people realise it's I'm out of there. Then hopefully someone comes out and takes it on. I'll give it away to the right person, because that person would have to have a little hearing, but they should be able to move on from where I was. But I can't exactly sell it and then have a hearing and have it shut down. It's not like and then give it, and then if there's any money further down the line. But that's where it's coming to. I had a really good option, and it fell through. Amazing option, but it fell through mainly because the guy said that why would you start a new business when you've got such assholes running something? And it's like, with what I do and with my history, you think small towns would be chasing someone like me to do it, and this one guy is doing everything he can to undermine me fucked me over and chasing me from town to town.
Yeah. Like literally, quite literally.
Yeah, exactly.
Quite literally. This seems like real sandpit shit. You think adults, you leave primary school and you think like, oh yeah, you leave a certain amount of bullshit behind, but fucking adults, man, we are just as bad except just bigger toys.
I'm not the first. I'm I'm just the one that's been able to fight back because I've got a, people know what I do is good and they like it, But I mean, plenty of other people fucked in Raglan by this guy and his offsiders.
Yeah.
That can't fight back,
Well, Andy, thanks for coming on, man, and sharing your story. I think this is a warning to a lot of people, a lot of people out there who are in your industry because they are doing it hard.
Yeah.
It is very tough, and I think everyone just needs to get out there and support as much as they can.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, cool. Thank you. And if I mean, I'll imagine, of what happened to me to your brother or sister or your father or your wife, just some obsessive stalky dude. Like Paige was saying the other day, she ran a cafe in Cuba Street, 2013, and Rag Rose set up around the corner, undermined them $2 coffees, and then that business is gone.
Fuck.
And it's the same shit happening.
Yeah.
Undermine, undercut, and put out business. And he admits it. He goes, and he doesn't see anything wrong with it. Fuck's sake.
Jesus. Well, Andy, best of luck. And Tony, who touched you? Are you okay? I mean, there's easier ways to get into Andy's pants. Just treat him mean, keep him keen shit. That ain't working anymore, you know what I'm saying? I know your coffee tastes like shit. I'm a coffee connoisseur and I've had it and it's not great. And to the people of Raglan, unless you want to live with easy listening for the rest of your lives, you'll get down to the Yachty and you'll support Andy and you will get the word out there that this needs to stop. And whoever does take it up next, they need to keep the vibe going that Andy started.
It's cool. It's please someone buy it.
Thanks, man.
But you guys.
Thanks, Andy.
We're good.
Yeah.
Thanks, mate.